My hands touched sacred armor, alien woman, asking, "Do you know what that means, human?" Jadden had never seen a planet like this before. From the moment his shuttle descended through the orange haze of the upper atmosphere, he could feel that something was different. The air was thick with a sweet, almost musical hum, and the light shimmered in strange, shifting colors that seemed to bend around the crystalline trees that towered above the landscape. Rivers of liquid silver twisted through valleys, reflecting the twin suns in a way that made the entire world sparkle like a gem. He took a deep breath, knowing that no photograph could ever capture the feeling of being here, the way the air seemed alive and the silence almost spoke. He adjusted the straps of his exploration pack and stepped out onto the soft, mossy ground. His boots sank slightly into the vegetation, which was unlike anything he had studied in the briefing files. Bioluminescent flowers opened and closed gently as he walked, their soft glow painting his path with shifting colors. It was beautiful, peaceful, and yet somehow sacred, as if the entire planet was a living cathedral built to honor something greater than any one being. Jadden's mission was simple, at least according to the Galactic Heritage Council: locate and study alien relics, especially those rumored to have unique cultural or spiritual significance. But the moment he saw the hidden temple rising from the dense forest ahead, he understood that this would be no ordinary survey. The temple's architecture was delicate yet massive, carved from a translucent stone that caught the light and scattered it in fractal patterns. Strange symbols covered every surface, and though he had seen depictions of them in ancient texts, standing in front of them made him feel small, almost reverent. As he stepped closer, the hum of the planet seemed to intensify, vibrating through his chest and fingers. The entrance to the temple was framed by two statues, elegant and lifelike, of alien figures holding long, curved staffs. Their eyes, though made of stone, seemed to glow faintly. Jadden paused, placing a hand on the carved surface, and for a moment he swore he felt a pulse, as though the statues themselves were breathing. Inside, the air was cooler, tinged with the scent of minerals and something faintly sweet. The main chamber opened into a wide hall, its ceiling stretching impossibly high, supported by columns that looked like they had grown organically rather than been constructed. At the center of the hall, illuminated by a beam of sunlight that filtered through a gap in the ceiling, was the pedestal. On it rested a suit of armor, unlike anything Jadden had ever seen. It was sleek, almost liquid in its form, but solid enough to suggest it could protect a life. Its surface shimmered with a pale, iridescent light, shifting from silver to violet as he moved around it. Jadden's heart began to race. He had studied countless artifacts in museums and archives, but none of them carried the kind of presence this armor did. It seemed alive, not in a way that would threaten him, but in a way that demanded recognition, respect, and understanding. The council had warned him to handle any relics with care, but they hadn't prepared him for the feeling of awe that struck him now, the quiet insistence that this was something more than metal and craft. It was memory, history, and perhaps even consciousness. He stepped closer, his boots silent on the polished floor. His fingers hovered just above the surface of the armor. He wanted to touch it, to feel the texture, to understand it in the way only humans could when faced with something so completely foreign. And yet as he reached out, a voice stopped him. "Do you know what that means, human?" Jadden froze. The voice was soft but carried authority, like a calm river that could suddenly surge. It was alien, melodic, and it resonated in the air around him. He turned slowly and saw her. Lyriel stepped into the light, her presence commanding yet graceful. Her skin was pale with a soft luminescence, and her hair flowed like liquid silver, moving gently even though the air was still. Her eyes, large and violet, looked at him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. She wore a simple robe that hinted at her status without ostentation, and the way she carried herself made it clear she was more than just a visitor. She was a guardian, a protector, someone who had spent years connected to this place. I didn't mean to, Jadden began, but she held up a hand. It is not an offense, she said, her voice steady. But you must understand, that armor is not merely a tool, it is a sacred vessel. To touch it is to touch the memory of my ancestors, to take on their trust and their expectations. Humans rarely feel the weight of such things. Do you? Jadden swallowed, feeling the gravity of her words. He hadn't realized, not fully, that this object was more than historical. It was alive in a sense, not through magic, but through the history and the energy it carried. I think I understand, he said, though he wasn't sure he did. Lyriel studied him for a long moment, her eyes searching for something deeper, something beyond his words. Then she gestured toward the armor. Then come closer, touch it if you are willing to accept its meaning. He hesitated. His hand trembled slightly as he reached out, hovering over the shimmering surface. The moment his fingers brushed it, a wave of sensation ran through him. It was as if every story, every lesson, every life of her people for centuries flowed into him in an instant. He saw flashes of battles fought not with hatred but with courage, rituals performed not for power but for harmony, and moments of quiet reflection where the smallest act carried immense significance. Jadden stepped back, breathless. I can feel something. But I don't understand it fully. Lyriel nodded, a faint smile crossing her face. You will. The armor chooses not only by touch but by intent. You are human, and humans have a rare gift. You can perceive, adapt, and connect in ways even the oldest of my people cannot always achieve. But it is not a gift without responsibility. Do you wish to learn? Jadden's heart pounded. This was what he had always dreamed of, an artifact beyond comprehension, a connection to another world, another civilization. Yes, he said firmly, I want to understand. Lyriel extended her hand. Then follow me. There is much to teach, and your journey has only begun. He followed her out of the hall, through corridors lined with glowing symbols that seemed to pulse with quiet energy. As they walked, Lyriel began to explain the basics. The armor was created as a symbol of protection and wisdom, worn only by those who demonstrated not only skill but compassion. Touching it was a commitment, a promise to respect life and uphold harmony. Jadden listened intently, asking questions whenever he could. He learned that the symbols in the temple were more than decoration. They were lessons, each one a story or a principle. Some were warnings, some encouragements, and some were meditations in themselves, teaching patience, empathy, and balance. Hours passed without notice. Time on this planet seemed to bend, the suns drifting lazily across the sky while they explored. Jadden felt his own senses sharpen, the hum of the planet sinking subtly with his heartbeat. Every footstep, every glance, seemed charged with meaning. At one point, Lyriel paused before a mural depicting the first guardians who had worn the armor. She touched it gently, and a soft light radiated from her hand, illuminating the ancient figures. They believed, she said, that knowledge must be lived, not only learned. Touching the armor is the first step, but to carry its meaning, you must experience life as they did, with courage and humility. Jadden nodded, feeling both the weight and the honor of what he had begun. He realized that this mission was no longer just about exploration or study. It was about growth, connection, and understanding. In that moment, he felt a bridge form between his world and hers, fragile yet unbreakable, held together by trust and curiosity. As they exited the temple into the fading light of the twin suns, Jadden felt a sense of anticipation he had never known. He didn't know what challenges awaited, what lessons would test him, or how deeply this connection would change him. But one thing was certain. He had touched something sacred, and it had touched him back in a way that resonated far beyond the surface. Lyriel glanced at him, her expression unreadable yet filled with quiet approval. Do you know what that means now, human? She asked again, her voice gentle but carrying the same weight as before. Jadden looked at the armor in the distance, glimmering softly in the evening light. He smiled, a mix of awe, excitement, and newfound purpose. "I think I'm beginning to understand," he said. And in that moment, he knew his life and perhaps his understanding of humanity itself would never be the same again. The planet hummed around them, the rivers reflecting the suns, the trees swaying gently as if in acknowledgement. Jadden felt, for the first time, that humans were capable of touching the sacred, of understanding the profound, and of connecting with life in ways that could inspire even the oldest civilizations of the galaxy. He felt small, yet limitless. And he knew this was only the beginning. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long beams of light across the valley as Jadden followed Lyriel along a winding path that led deeper into her village. It was unlike any settlement he had ever seen. Homes were carved directly from the cliffs and the floating islands above, connected by delicate bridges of light that seemed almost weightless. Gardens of glowing plants hung from the cliffs, their tendrils swaying gently even when the air was still, and streams of silver water flowed above as well as below, reflecting the twin suns like floating mirrors. Lyriel walked with a quiet confidence, her eyes constantly scanning their surroundings, not with suspicion, but with awareness and understanding. "Humans move differently than we do," she said casually, though Jadden could sense the underlying curiosity in her tone. "You do not rely only on strength or skill. You use creativity and instinct in ways that even the wisest of my people often cannot predict." Jadden smiled, feeling a mix of pride and humility. He had always known humans were adaptable, but to hear it from an alien of such authority made him feel both honored and responsible. "I just do what feels right," he said simply. Lyriel's eyes softened. "That is why the armor responded to you. It senses not just touch, but intent. You humans have the rare ability to combine courage with understanding, and your hearts often guide your actions more than your minds alone." They reached the edge of the village, where a wide terrace opened onto a breathtaking view. Floating islands drifted lazily above a waterfall that spilled into a valley of silver-leaf trees. Children played near the streams, their laughter a soft, musical echo that seemed to harmonize with the planet itself. Jadden watched them, fascinated by their agility and grace. They moved with a rhythm that was natural, yet entirely unlike anything he had seen on Earth. Lyriel guided him to a central building, a structure carved from translucent crystal that glowed faintly from within. "This is the Hall of Ancestors," she explained. "Here, we teach the principles of our people to those who wish to learn. The armor is only one part of our heritage. To truly understand it, you must understand us." Inside, the hall was vast, filled with soft, ambient light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Symbols and murals covered the walls, depicting events from centuries past. The first guardians of the armor, moments of diplomacy, discoveries of new worlds and rituals performed to honor life itself. The air vibrated subtly, almost like a heartbeat, and Jadden felt an immediate sense of calm and focus. Lyriel motioned for him to sit. "The first lesson is about harmony. Our people believe that true strength does not come from domination, but from balance. To wear the armor, one must understand not only the body, but the mind and the heart. You must learn to move in sync with the energy around you, to sense what is needed without forcing it." Jadden listened intently, absorbing every word. He was a trained archaeologist and explorer, but this was unlike any study he had undertaken. It was not about facts or artifacts. It was about understanding life, energy, and connection on a level that transcended mere observation. Lyriel handed him a small, smooth stone. "Hold this, close your eyes and feel it. Let it guide you." Jadden did as instructed. At first nothing happened and he felt a flicker of doubt, but slowly he began to sense something subtle, a rhythm, a pulse, as if the stone was alive in its own way. His heartbeat seemed to align with it, and a warmth spread through his chest. He opened his eyes and saw Lyriel watching him, a faint smile on her lips. "You felt it," she said softly. "Even the smallest gesture can carry meaning if you are attentive." Humans are often too focused on outcomes, but here, the process matters as much as the result. Over the next several hours, she guided him through a series of exercises designed to heighten his awareness. He learned to move in patterns that mimicked the flow of energy around him, to sense the subtle shifts in the environment, and to respond with both intuition and precision. At first, he stumbled, frustrated by his human impatience. But Lyriel reminded him repeatedly that understanding cannot be rushed. "You see," she said during a pause, "the armor is not only a tool of protection, it is a teacher. Those who wear it must act with mindfulness, empathy, and courage. To touch it is to accept the responsibility to grow." Jaden nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. He realized that this was not just about exploration or study. It was about becoming a part of something greater, a continuum of life and wisdom that stretched across centuries. The armor had chosen him not for his strength, but for his willingness to learn, to adapt, and to honor the connection it represented. Later, Lyriel took him to a quiet garden. The plants there were unlike any he had seen, their leaves pulsating gently with light. She asked him to meditate while holding the stone again, guiding him to focus on his breath, his heartbeat, and the rhythm of the garden. At first, his thoughts wandered as they always did. But slowly he began to feel a sense of unity with the place, with the air, the water, and the light around him. "You are learning faster than I expected," Lyriel said. "Humans have an innate resilience. You adapt even when the path is unclear. That is what makes you special." Jaden smiled, feeling a quiet pride. "I never thought I would find a place where I could learn like this, not just about history but about life itself." Lyriel's gaze softened. "That is why you were drawn here. You humans often seek knowledge through curiosity and courage. Those traits can illuminate paths even the oldest civilizations have forgotten. But remember, understanding is only the first step. You must also act with care and respect." The days passed in a blur of lessons, exploration, and meditation. Jaden began to feel a connection not only to the armor but to Lyriel's people, their history, and the planet itself. He learned their language, simple gestures that carried deep meaning, and the ways they observed the flow of energy in the environment. Every small act, from touching a leaf to watching the sunlight reflect on a river, became a lesson in mindfulness and presence. One afternoon, Lyriel led him to a cliff overlooking the valley. The twin suns hung low, casting long shadows and bathing the landscape in warm, golden light. She gestured toward the horizon. "Do you see that, human? Every part of this world is connected. The river nourishes the trees feed the soil supports life. Everything has its role. To wear the armor is to honor that connection, not to control it." Jaden looked at the scene, feeling a deep sense of awe. He realized that his human perspective, which often emphasized individuality and innovation, could also embrace this kind of harmony. He could see how his species, courage and creativity could complement the careful balance Lyriel's people maintained for centuries. That evening, as they returned to the village, children approached him with curiosity. They had never seen a human before, and their wide eyes reflected innocence and wonder. Jaden knelt to greet them, smiling warmly. He felt a sense of kinship, understanding that humans and aliens could connect through simple gestures, shared curiosity, and respect. Lyriel watched him quietly, her expression unreadable at first, then softening. "You are learning not only the ways of the armor but the ways of our people," she said. "That is rare. Humans often act without thought, yet you act with heart." Jaden felt a warmth spread through him. He had always known humans could be brave, but to hear it acknowledged by someone so wise and ancient was humbling. He realized that courage alone was not enough. understanding, empathy, and respect were what made humans truly remarkable in the eyes of the universe. As night fell, the valley glowed softly under the twin moons. Jaden sat by a stream, watching the reflections of the moons ripple across the water. Lyriel joined him, and for a long while they sat in silence. Words were not needed. The connection between them, between human and alien, teacher and student, was enough. Finally, Lyriel spoke. "Tomorrow, you will begin the first trial. It is not a test of strength, but of perception and understanding. The armor has chosen you to learn, but now you must show that you can carry its lessons into action." Jaden nodded, feeling a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. He understood that this journey would challenge him in ways he could not yet imagine, but he also felt a quiet confidence. He had touched the sacred, felt its energy, and begun to understand its meaning. He had learned from Lyriel, and in doing so, he had discovered the potential within himself. The night deepened, and Jaden lay beneath the glowing leaves, listening to the soft hum of the planet. He thought about his life on Earth, the endless search for knowledge, and the moments of courage that had brought him here. For the first time, he realized that humans were capable of more than they often believed. They could connect, adapt, and grow in ways that could inspire even the most ancient civilizations. And as he drifted into sleep, Jaden felt the presence of the armor, the guidance of Lyriel, and the promise of the journey ahead. He knew that the lessons he had begun to learn would shape not only his understanding of the universe, but also the very essence of what it meant to be human. The first light of dawn painted the valley in shades of gold and violet as Jaden stood at the edge of the training ground. The area was a wide circle of smooth stone, surrounded by softly glowing plants and low crystal pillars that hummed faintly in the morning air. Lyriel appeared beside him, her presence serene yet commanding, her hair shimmering in the gentle sunlight. "Today," she said, her voice calm and steady, "you will begin your first trial. It is not about strength, speed, or cleverness alone. It is about awareness, empathy, and the ability to perceive the unseen." Jaden nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had trained in countless environments on Earth, deserts, jungles, mountains. But nothing had prepared him for a trial where understanding and perception mattered more than physical skill. He glanced at the soft hum of the crystal pillars and the gently swaying plants, realizing that even the environment itself would be part of the challenge. Lyriel gestured for him to close his eyes. "Feel the energy around you. Every stone, every plant, every breeze carries information. Do not rush. Do not assume. Let the world reveal itself." At first, Jaden struggled. His human mind, so used to logic and observation, wanted to measure, label, and predict, but the trial demanded patience and presence. He took a deep breath, letting the sounds, the hums, and the subtle vibrations of the stones reach him. Slowly, he began to sense patterns, the rhythm of the air, the pulse of the plants, the quiet energy of the stones beneath his feet. A soft glow appeared along the edge of the circle, forming shapes that shifted and shimmered. At first, Jaden thought it was an illusion, a trick of the light. But then he realized the shapes represented scenarios, moments in which the armor would need to respond, not with force but with understanding. He saw flashes of alien life, moments of imbalance or conflict, and small gestures that could heal or guide. Lyriel's voice guided him. "Respond to what you see, human. Let empathy guide your action. Do not think only of yourself. Consider the impact of your choices, even in ways that are unseen." He raised a hand toward the first shape, a glowing figure that seemed distressed. Instinctively, he mirrored the figure's posture, then slowly shifted to mimic a gentle, reassuring motion. The glow softened, spreading warmth through the area. Jaden realized that the trial was not testing his ability to solve puzzles or fight. It was testing his ability to sense, understand, and respond appropriately to life itself. For hours, he moved through the scenarios. Each one challenged him in a different way. Some required him to interpret subtle shifts in energy, others demanded patience and attention to detail. At times he faltered, his human impulsiveness causing the glow to flicker or waver. Lyriel would step in, guiding him with gentle words. Notice human. Observe without judgment. Your connection grows stronger with awareness. By midday, Jadden's understanding had deepened. He no longer saw the glowing figures as puzzles. They were lives, experiences, and histories woven into the energy of the planet. He began to anticipate the subtle cues, adjusting his movements and intentions in harmony with the environment. The trial, he realized, was as much about learning to see himself clearly as it was about mastering the energy around him. Lyriel observed quietly, her expression calm but approving. You are progressing faster than I anticipated. Humans often struggle to slow their minds, yet you are beginning to perceive beyond what is immediately visible. That is the first quality the armor seeks. After a short rest, she led him to a section of the training ground where the plants formed a dense labyrinth. This next phase will test your empathy in a more direct way. Within this maze are beings who require guidance. Some will be hidden, some will be obvious. Listen, observe, and respond. Do not rush. Let your understanding guide you. Jadden stepped into the labyrinth. The plants moved subtly, closing and opening paths as if alive. He focused on breathing, on sensing the smallest shifts in the air, and on attuning to the faint glows that indicated a presence. Soon, he found a small creature, quivering at the base of a glowing tree. Its form was unfamiliar, with delicate wings and translucent skin, but its fear was universal. Jadden knelt slowly, extending a hand without reaching too close. "It's okay," he whispered, though he wasn't sure the creature understood his words. Instead, he let his calm presence communicate reassurance. Gradually, the creature relaxed, stepping closer and letting him guide it toward safety. The glow of the tree responded, spreading light along the path and illuminating a hidden exit from the maze. Lyriel appeared at the exit, watching him with faint admiration. "You see, human. Understanding is stronger than any force. The armor is not about domination but connection. You guide without commanding, you protect without controlling. That is why it responded to your touch." Jadden smiled, feeling a surge of confidence. He realized that his human ability to improvise, to think creatively, and to act with empathy gave him an advantage even the most experienced aliens might not possess. He was beginning to understand what Lyriel had meant. Humans could perceive and adapt in ways that made them uniquely capable of carrying the armor's legacy. The final part of the trial involved a bridge suspended above a pool of liquid silver. It was narrow and curved, with no railings, and beneath it the surface reflected distorted images of the sky and surrounding cliffs. Lyriel stood at the far end, her gaze steady. "This is the culmination of the trial. You must cross the bridge without fear, relying on your awareness and connection. Every step matters. Trust yourself and trust the world around you." Jadden stepped onto the bridge. At first, the surface seemed to shift beneath his feet, creating a disorienting sensation. He could feel the subtle vibrations of the silver liquid below, the movement of air around him, and the quiet hum of the floating islands above. He slowed his pace, aligning his movements with the rhythm of the environment. With each step, the bridge seemed to respond, stabilizing as he adapted. Halfway across, he saw a vision within the liquid, an image of the armor, shimmering and alive, but also fragile, dependent on the harmony of those who wore it. He realized that the trial was not only about perception, but about responsibility. The armor's legacy was not a burden to fear, but a duty to honor through care, understanding, and connection. Reaching the end, he exhaled deeply. Lyriel extended a hand and he grasped it firmly. "You have succeeded in the trial, human," she said, her voice carrying warmth and approval. "Not because you are the strongest or the fastest, but because you acted with empathy, awareness, and courage." These qualities are rare, and they are what the armor seeks. Jaden felt a deep sense of pride and humility. He had faced challenges that required more than physical skill. They demanded patience, presence, and a willingness to learn. He had succeeded not through force, but through understanding, and that made the achievement feel profound. Lyriel led him back to the temple where the armor rested. The sunlight filtered through the ceiling, casting a glow on the sacred relic. "Now," she said, "you are ready to connect with it in a deeper way. The armor is a teacher, but it also responds to those who are ready to carry its meaning. Touch it again, and let it show you what it can reveal." Jaden approached the armor cautiously. As he placed his hands on its surface, a wave of sensation washed over him. This time, it was different from before. He felt not only the history of Lyriel's people, but also a reflection of his own life, his decisions, and his intentions. The armor seemed to resonate with his humanity, his curiosity, his empathy, and his courage. It was as if it recognized not only his presence, but the unique qualities he brought to the universe. Images and sensations flowed through him, visions of distant worlds, quiet acts of kindness, moments of insight and bravery. He saw the potential for humans and aliens to learn from one another, to build understanding and harmony across the stars. The armor, he realized, was not simply a relic or a tool. It was a bridge, a living record of wisdom that could be shared and nurtured. Lyriel watched him closely, her expression calm but filled with a subtle pride. "You have begun to understand, human. The armor responds to intent, and your intent is clear. You are willing to learn, to connect, and to honor what it represents. That is rare." Jaden stepped back, feeling both awe and a quiet responsibility. He had touched something sacred, and it had responded not to power, but to the qualities he carried within himself. He realized that the trial had not been about proving his strength. It had been about discovering what made humans unique in the galaxy. Their ability to connect, adapt, and act with both courage and empathy. As the twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the temple, Jaden and Lyriel stood side by side, gazing at the armor. "Do you feel it now?" she asked gently. "The meaning of your touch," he nodded, a smile touching his lips. "I think I do. It's about connection, understanding, and responsibility, not just to the armor but to the life around us. Humans, we have a way of seeing things differently, but maybe that's what the armor needed all along." Lyriel's eyes softened, a rare smile appearing on her face. "Yes, human. You have begun to see not only what the armor represents, but what humans can offer. Your presence here is more than a curiosity. It is a bridge between worlds." As night fell, the valley below glimmered under the light of the twin moons, the streams reflecting their glow like threads of silver. Jaden felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that he had not only passed the trial, but also begun a journey that would change him forever. The armor had responded to him, but more importantly, he had responded to it, with awareness, empathy, and courage. He realized that this was only the beginning. There would be more lessons, more challenges, and more opportunities to grow. And with Lyriel as his guide, he felt ready to face whatever lay ahead, carrying the unique qualities of humanity into a universe that had only just begun to recognize them. The next morning, Jaden awoke to a soft glow filtering through the canopy above the village. The twin suns had risen slowly, casting long streaks of golden light that danced across the mossy ground and the shimmering crystal structures. The air was crisp and filled with the scent of flowers and flowing water, and the quiet hum of the planet seemed to welcome him as he stretched and prepared for the day ahead. Lyriel was already waiting for him near the edge of the floating islands, her hair shimmering like silver in the morning light. She smiled faintly as he approached. "Today, human, you will experience the armor as it was meant to be worn. You have learned awareness, patience, and empathy. Now it is time to connect with its full purpose." Jaden's heart raced. Though he had touched the armor before, he knew this experience would be different. He had trained his mind, sharpened his perception, and begun to understand the delicate balance between strength and understanding. But he also sensed that the armor would demand more than skill. It would demand intention, clarity, and harmony with life itself. They approached the temple, the armor resting in its pedestal as if it had been waiting for him all night. The light caught it in a dazzling display, the colors shifting and dancing like liquid metal. Lyriel extended her hand toward it and the soft glow responded, spreading across the chamber like a wave. "Place your hands on it, human," she instructed, her voice calm but commanding. "Focus on the connection. Let it guide you, but do not force it. You must move as if you are part of the energy, not separate from it." Jadden stepped forward and laid his hands on the armor. Instantly, he felt a surge of warmth and light, a sensation that was both thrilling and peaceful. Unlike the first time, this connection felt deeper, almost as if the armor recognized not only his presence but his intentions, his thoughts, and the qualities that made him human. Images and sensations flowed through him. He saw Lyriel's ancestors, not as static figures, but as beings full of life, wisdom, and purpose. He felt their experiences, their decisions, and the way they had guided and protected their people. The armor seemed to respond to his understanding, his willingness to connect, and his ability to act with care. Lyriel watched silently, her eyes reflecting both pride and anticipation. "It senses your intent, human. It feels your empathy and your courage. You are ready to move beyond touch and experience what it truly means to wear the armor." Jadden nodded, taking a deep breath to steady himself. Slowly, he lifted one arm, then the other, letting the armor flow around him. It seemed to mold to his body effortlessly, as if it had been waiting for him to learn how to move in harmony with it. He flexed his fingers and lifted his legs, testing the weight and flexibility. The armor was responsive, not rigid. It moved with him, amplifying his awareness without overpowering him. "You are doing well," Lyriel said softly. "The armor does not grant power, it amplifies understanding. It will respond to your thoughts, your intentions, and your ability to connect with the energy around you." Jadden felt a thrill of excitement. The armor was more than protection. It was a teacher, a guide, and a partner. Every movement he made was mirrored and enhanced, allowing him to experience the harmony between body, mind, and energy in a way he had never imagined. He lifted his arms in a slow, deliberate motion, and the armor responded with a shimmering glow that followed his movements. Lyriel gestured for him to step outside into the courtyard. The floating islands above cast soft shadows, and the silver rivers glimmered in the sunlight. Jadden walked carefully at first, feeling the subtle vibrations of the armor syncing with the energy of the planet. With each step he felt more connected, not only to the armor but to the world around him. "Now," Lyriel said, "move freely. Let the armor guide you but also guide it. Show it your understanding, your empathy, your awareness." Jadden began to move. At first it was simple steps, shifting his weight and adjusting to the flow of the environment. But soon he began to experiment. He reached toward a floating crystal, sensing its resonance and aligning his movements with its energy. The armor responded, glowing brighter, flowing seamlessly with his gestures. He leapt lightly across the courtyard, landing softly on the mossy ground, and felt the armor absorb his momentum, enhancing his balance. Every movement became a dialogue between him and the energy of the planet, the armor acting as both amplifier and guide. He realized that the trial was no longer about testing skill. It was about expressing understanding, harmony, and care in motion. Lyriel watched him with a calm intensity. "You are learning what few beings ever grasp. Strength alone cannot sustain the armor's energy. Only understanding, empathy, and the willingness to connect can maintain it." Hours passed in a blur. Jadden practiced, experimented, and refined his connection. The sun moved across the sky, casting shadows that shifted and danced with his movements. He felt the pulse of the planet, the rhythm of the rivers, and the subtle energies of the floating islands. He learned to anticipate shifts in light, sound, and movement, adjusting his actions to maintain harmony. At one point, a sudden gust of wind swirled through the courtyard, disturbing the floating crystals and the delicate plants. Jaden instinctively moved, adjusting his stance and using the armor's responsiveness to guide the energy of the wind safely around the garden. The plants settled, the crystals resumed their positions, and a quiet calm returned. He realized that his actions had preserved balance, not through force but through understanding and connection. Lyriel stepped closer. "Do you feel it now, human? The true purpose of the armor?" Jaden nodded slowly. "It's not just protection, it's guidance. It teaches, responds, and amplifies understanding. It's alive in a way, not like a creature but like the energy of the world itself. And humans, we can connect with it in ways that matter, not through strength, but through awareness and care." She smiled faintly, a rare expression of pride. "Yes, that is why it chose you. Humans have a unique ability to perceive, adapt, and act with both courage and empathy. Even the oldest civilizations often fail to grasp what you bring to the universe." As the sun began to set, casting the valley in warm shades of gold and violet, Lyriel guided Jaden to a quiet terrace overlooking the floating islands. "Tomorrow, you will begin to learn how to share this understanding. The armor responds to more than one life at a time. Its energy can be extended, guided, and shared. That is the next step in your journey." Jaden watched the light dance on the rivers and the silver leaves, feeling a profound sense of connection. He realized that the armor was not only a relic or a tool. It was a living testament to harmony, wisdom, and the responsibility of those who chose to understand. His human instincts, creativity, and empathy had allowed him to connect with it in ways that even Lyriel's people rarely experienced. That night, as he lay beneath the softly glowing trees, Jaden reflected on everything he had learned. The trial had shown him that courage alone was not enough, and knowledge alone was incomplete. True understanding came from connection, with the environment, with life, and with the energy that flowed through everything. He felt a quiet pride, knowing that humans could offer something unique to the universe, a combination of adaptability, insight, and heart that complemented even the most ancient wisdom. Lyriel joined him under the glowing canopy. She sat quietly, observing the stars reflected in the silver rivers, her expression calm and thoughtful. "Humans are rare," she said softly. "Your species has a way of seeing beyond what is immediately visible, of understanding without needing to dominate. That is why you were able to touch the armor and why it responded to you. Your journey is only beginning, but you have already begun to show what humans can bring to the galaxy." Jaden smiled faintly. "I never imagined that touching the armor would lead to this connection, this understanding. It's more than I could have hoped for." Lyriel's eyes reflected a quiet warmth. "The armor is a teacher, but also a mirror. It reflects the qualities that exist within you. Humans have courage, empathy, and curiosity. These are not just traits, they are gifts that can illuminate even the oldest and most respected civilizations. You have begun to see how powerful that can be when applied with care and understanding." They sat together for a long while, listening to the soft hum of the planet, the gentle ripple of silver streams, and the distant song of the floating islands. Jaden felt a deep sense of peace and purpose. He had learned that humans were not just survivors or explorers. They were connectors, learners, and creators in ways that even the oldest civilizations might never anticipate. As night deepened, the twin moons rose over the valley, casting their glow across the floating islands and the shimmering rivers. Jaden felt the armor's presence, not as an external force, but as an extension of himself. He had begun to understand what it meant to wear it, to connect with it, and to embody the principles it represented. Lyriel's voice broke the quiet. "Tomorrow, you will face new lessons. You will learn how to extend this understanding, to guide others and to share the connection you have built. The armor will respond, and you will see the unique role humans can play in the universe. For now, rest. You have done well, human. You have taken another step toward understanding the true meaning of the sacred. Jaden closed his eyes, feeling a profound sense of anticipation and readiness. He understood that the journey was far from over, but he also knew that he was beginning to grasp what humans could bring to a galaxy that often underestimated them. Awareness, empathy, courage, and understanding. These were his tools, and the armor was his guide. Together, they could illuminate paths, protect life, and connect civilizations in ways that had never been imagined. And as he drifted into sleep beneath the glowing canopy, Jaden felt a quiet certainty. He had touched something sacred, learned to connect with it, and discovered the power of humanity in a universe that was just beginning to recognize it. The morning air was crisp and clear as Jaden rose, feeling a quiet excitement coursing through him. Today marked the beginning of the final stage of his journey with the armor. He had learned awareness, empathy, and connection, and now he would discover how to extend that understanding beyond himself. The twin suns rose slowly over the horizon, casting long streaks of light across the valley and illuminating the floating islands above. Lyriel was waiting at the edge of the courtyard, her expression calm yet filled with anticipation. Today, human, you will learn how to share the connection you have built with the armor. It is not enough to understand alone. True mastery comes when you can guide others and extend the harmony you embody. Jaden nodded, feeling a sense of purpose stronger than ever. He had touched the armor, passed the trial, and experienced its energy. Now he realized he had the opportunity to show how humans could bring their unique qualities, creativity, adaptability, empathy, to the wider universe. They walked together to a wide open space at the center of the village, where the floating islands above reflected on silver rivers below. Lyriel gestured to a group of villagers gathered around the area. "These beings will participate in your final lesson," she explained. "You must guide them, not with command or force, but with understanding, presence, and care. The armor will assist you, but your intent must lead." Jaden felt a ripple of nerves, but he steadied himself, taking a deep breath. He had trained his mind and body, attuned to the planet's energy, and understood the sacred purpose of the armor. Now, it was time to apply everything he had learned. He stepped forward, letting the armor flow around him. Its subtle glow reflected the sunlight, shimmering as if alive. He extended his senses outward, feeling the energy of the villagers, the plants, the floating islands, and the rivers. He could sense their curiosity, hesitation, and trust, and he responded not with words alone, but with calm movements and gestures that communicated reassurance. Slowly, he began to guide them through a series of exercises designed to strengthen awareness and connection. He mirrored the movements of the flowing rivers with his arms, encouraging the villagers to follow and sense the rhythm of the environment. He paused near a group of young learners, helping them feel the gentle pulse of the plants beneath their hands, teaching them to notice subtleties they had never recognized before. The armor responded, amplifying his awareness and projecting a sense of calm that reached the villagers. They moved more confidently, their energy harmonizing with his guidance. Jaden realized that humans had a unique ability to inspire connection, not through authority, but through presence and intention. His actions, small and deliberate, created ripples of understanding that spread throughout the group. Lyriel observed quietly, a faint smile on her lips. "You are demonstrating what few beings can achieve. The armor responds to intent, and your intent is clear and pure. You are guiding, not controlling. That is the essence of its purpose." As the day progressed, Jaden led the villagers through more complex exercises. He guided them across narrow pathways above silver streams, helping them balance and move with awareness. He showed them how to sense shifts in energy, interpret subtle changes in light and movement, and respond with care and mindfulness. Each action was simple, yet carried profound meaning. At one point, a young learner hesitated on a narrow bridge, fear flickering in their eyes. Jadden approached slowly, offering a calm presence rather than instruction. "Take your time," he said softly. "Feel the rhythm of the world beneath you. Let it guide your steps." The armor seemed to sense the child's fear, responding with a gentle glow that radiated warmth and stability. The young learner relaxed, stepping forward with growing confidence. Jadden felt a quiet pride, realizing that humans had the capacity to encourage courage and understanding in others, not through force, but through empathy and presence. Hours passed as the sun moved across the sky. Jadden continued to guide, teach, and connect, his movements becoming a seamless dialogue with the environment and the villagers. The armor amplified his intent, projecting a sense of harmony that extended beyond him. Every gesture, every step, every breath became part of a living lesson in awareness and connection. As the twin suns began to set, casting the valley in warm shades of gold and violet, Lyriel called the group together. "You have witnessed something rare today," she said, her voice carrying through the courtyard. "The human before you has shown that understanding, empathy, and courage can illuminate paths even the oldest civilizations might overlook. The armor has chosen not only for itself, but for what humanity can bring to our world." The villagers looked at Jadden with awe and curiosity. Some smiled, some bowed in quiet respect, and others simply stood, absorbing the energy and lessons he had shared. Jadden felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had connected not only with the armor but with the people, the planet, and the energy that flowed through everything. Humans had the capacity to build bridges, inspire courage, and foster understanding in ways that even the most ancient beings could not always achieve. Lyriel approached him, her expression soft and approving. "You have succeeded, human. Not because of strength or speed, but because of your heart, your awareness, and your intent. The armor has responded to you fully. You are now its true companion, its guide, and its protector in a new way." Jadden looked down at the armor, feeling the subtle vibrations of its energy flowing through him. He realized that this was more than a lesson, it was a partnership. The armor was not a tool to wield, but a living connection, a bridge between his humanity and the wisdom of Lyriel's people. He could sense that it would continue to guide him, and that he could share its lessons with others, extending its purpose far beyond the temple walls. As night fell and the twin moons rose above the valley, casting silver light on the rivers and floating islands, Jadden stood beside Lyriel on the temple terrace. The air was filled with the hum of the planet, soft and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. He realized that humans were capable of more than survival or exploration. They could connect, inspire, and create understanding in ways that even the oldest civilizations might never anticipate. Lyriel's voice broke the quiet. "Humans are rare, Jadden. You have shown that courage, awareness, and empathy are not only traits, they are gifts. Gifts that can illuminate even the most ancient wisdom and connect life across worlds. You have proven that humanity has a place in the greater universe, not just as observers, but as partners, teachers, and connectors." Jadden felt a deep sense of pride and humility. He thought of Earth, of his home, and the countless humans who had struggled, explored, and dreamed. They had the capacity to face challenges with ingenuity, to build understanding from curiosity, and to extend empathy even to beings very different from themselves. The armor had revealed that potential in him, and he realized that it could do the same for others. He turned his gaze to the floating islands and silver rivers, reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. He had touched something sacred, learned to understand it, passed the trial, and shared its energy with others. But most importantly, he had discovered the unique qualities that humans could bring to the galaxy: connection, creativity, courage, and empathy. Lyriel stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. You have done well, human, but remember this is only the beginning. The universe is vast, filled with beings who need understanding, guidance, and connection. You have the armor and you have the heart. Together, you can extend these lessons further than anyone has imagined. Jaden nodded, feeling a sense of readiness and anticipation. He understood that his journey with the armor was far from over. There would be new worlds, new challenges, and new opportunities to share what he had learned. But he also knew that he was ready, equipped not only with the knowledge and guidance of Lyriel's people, but with the qualities that made humans uniquely capable of bridging differences and fostering understanding. That night, as he lay beneath the softly glowing trees and listened to the hum of the planet, Jaden felt a profound sense of connection. The armor rested beside him, its energy gentle and alive, like a constant reminder of the lessons he had learned and the potential he carried within himself. He realized that humans were capable of touching the sacred, of understanding what it meant to connect deeply with life, and of sharing that understanding in ways that could transform entire civilizations. He thought of the young learners, of the villagers, and of the planet itself, and he felt a quiet determination. Humanity had a place in the universe, not just as explorers or observers, but as connectors, teachers, and guides. And with the armor, he could embody that potential, carrying its lessons forward and showing what humans were truly capable of. Lyriel sat quietly beside him, watching the twin moons reflect in the rivers below. "You have grown, Jaden," she said softly. "You have seen what it means to touch the sacred, to understand, and to connect. You have shown that humans can illuminate paths even the oldest civilizations might overlook. Remember this always. Your journey is only beginning, but the impact you can have is limitless." Jaden smiled faintly, feeling a sense of peace and purpose unlike anything he had experienced. The armor had not only guided him, it had revealed the best qualities of his humanity, the courage, empathy, and awareness that could extend beyond himself and inspire others. He understood that the universe was vast and full of challenges, but also full of opportunity, connection, and life waiting to be understood. As the night deepened and the stars reflected in the silver rivers below, Jaden closed his eyes, feeling the gentle hum of the armor and the planet. He had touched something sacred, learned from it, and shared its wisdom. And he knew, with a quiet certainty, that humanity had a place in the universe, not just as observers but as partners, connectors, and guides. The journey had begun, and the possibilities were endless.